Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Be Safe. I'm your host, Sheriff Wayne Ivey, and today we're going to have an inside look at the Sheriff's Office, a behind the scenes approach, if you will, of everything that goes on. Our panel today is first and foremost our Chief Deputy, Doug Waller, who's been with the agency for 27 years, Lieutenant Linda Morris, who runs our Career Development Unit, and Director Steve Salvo, who has been a longtime member of the Sheriff's Office and runs our HR department. So welcome to the show. And as we start out, Chief, let's start with you. 27 years at the Sheriff's Office. Some changes? Seen a lot of different things?
A lot of changes, a lot of changes. You know, I'm blessed with an opportunity to work in just about every aspect of the agency over the past 27 years. A lot of heavy oriented towards investigations, but an opportunity to visit the entire agency.
Now, Chief Deputy, you have everything under your charge with the exception of corrections, which goes under our other chief, Chief Lewis. That involves a lot. There's 1,200 plus employees there at the Sheriff's Office. So does it keep you a little bit busy?
Yes, but in a good way. It allows you to be very engaged with every aspect of the agency, and there's a lot of moving parts.
All right, excellent. Well, we're going to find out about all those moving parts. Everything kind of starts with you, right, Lieutenant? Your career development. Tell us a little bit about your job. What else does that involve?
Our career development unit is our first step into the Sheriff's Office. We do recruitment and hiring for the Sheriff's Office, hand in hand with our HR division. And then once you come into the agency, we do all training, whether it be civilian training, sworn training. We also do training for our jail complex as well. So we train all 1,203 employees.
All right. I think there's probably a little bit of a misnomer, a little bit of a different thought process out that probably the only ones that get training are the sworn or the corrections, but training extends to everybody in that agency at different intervals, does it not?
Absolutely, yes. Anyone that's hired into the agency gets an orientation training, which is an orientation of our agency. It tells them about the different precincts we have, the different opportunities we have, because even though they might come in for one civilian position or even a sworn position, we want them to know what the Sheriff's Office has to offer them as an employee. Once they go through our orientation program, then they're deployed to whichever location they want to work in. And once they go there, then they have continued training, whether it's public records training, customer service training, specialized training for their individual units, whether it's crime analyst, crime scene, different things like that. They get a good volume of training.
All right. And then Director Salvo, as I said, you at the table, certainly the longest running member of the agency. And tell me all the different things that fall under your hat with HR and the different categories.
Well, under HR, of which career development we work hand in hand with. We do everything from, as the lieutenant said, from hiring and firing to salaries, job descriptions. We're currently updating our job descriptions. As you know, we have some 34 levels in the Sheriff's Office of different job types. We deal with people's day-to-day scheduling. We deal with their retirement needs. We deal with their, oh boy.
It goes on pretty long.
Yes, it does.
It does. Even employee assistance type programs and
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do have an EAP system that if an employee feels as though they do need some professional help in the areas of a mental or emotional assistance, we do have a method for them to get that help.
All right. Well, a lot of experience from the Sheriff's Office sitting at the table. In fact, I'm the newest member to the agency out of the four of us here. Chief, when you started, did you have somebody at this table maybe involved in training you?
Actually,
let me narrow it down. Was it Linda?
It was not Linda.
It wasn't me. Who? Oh, so it was Director Salvo.
Yes. Actually, I interned with the agency before I started here. So right after or during my college, I had an opportunity to get an extra semester while working at the Sheriff's Office. And at the time, Director Salvo was the training director or supervisor. So I had an opportunity to meet Steve many, many, many years ago.
How much has training changed? And obviously, wealth of experience you bring to the table here. But how much change have you seen in this agency over the years, Steve?
That was 85.
That was 85.
Chief. Okay. Yeah. Back in 85, as you know, we currently have a field training and evaluation program, and it's interesting because it has evolved. And speaking of the training, back when the chief started, we had a field training and evaluation program that encompassed 4 phases like it does now, but it was only 3 weeks. And at that time, we were on a shift of 4 and 2. So each week was only 4 days. So it was a lot shorter. We didn't have anywhere near as many field training officers. I believe we had 12. And we had the 3 precincts plus Canaveral. So each precinct had training officers, and we used to have to rotate the recruits out of the precincts. Well, now we fast forward some 25, 30 years, and now we have a training precinct. So it's a wonderful concept. It's our West Precinct. All of our FTOs, all of our recruits go to the West Precinct, and that's where they learn, that's where they cut their teeth, so to speak, and learn how to become law enforcement officers. And it's an experiment that we've done now, Linda, about 3 years,
Yes, sir.
3, 4 years, and we like it a lot, sir. We think it's clearly a step above.
Yeah, I know as part of the transition when the new administration came in, that was one of the constants that I heard was the training and you know, a couple different variables. One, how well that training program is working. The other side of it is the types of training that our members need. And Linda, we'll come back to that with you. But let's talk a little bit about from an inside the sheriff's office perspective, what all goes on in there? What all? How many different disciplines do we have within the sheriff's office? And I'll open that, Chief. I don't know if you want to start.
Well, I think that's probably the biggest difference we have today versus 25, 30 years ago, is all the support levels behind patrol, which is considered the lifeblood of the agency. And today we have so many different aspects just in investigations. When we started, you know, patrol deputy did just about everything. The reports were handwritten, they were passed along through the levels, and then were forwarded to an investigative support. And homicide, general crimes back in those days, but today, sex crimes, criminalistics, evidence, domestic violence, homicide. I mean, it just goes on, and it allows for so much more of a thorough review of what we do every day to provide a better service for our victims and for our citizens.
Yeah. Linda, you recruit, you handle training. What all types of vacancies, or not vacancies, but positions do we have at the sheriff's office that someone looking to get into this field? I think a lot of times people think if I don't want to be a deputy and I don't want to be a corrections deputy, then I probably can't go into the field of law enforcement. But there's a lot of variables out there. In fact, I've gotten very accustomed to say there's no support positions there. Every one of those positions is vital to this agency. You take one of them away, this agency doesn't function. And so what type of recruiting do we do on a norm?
We do a multitude of different recruiting. And like you said, not only do we have deputy sheriff or correctional deputy law enforcement positions, but we have all of those support positions that the chief was speaking about. Our communications center, which is our 911 operators that answer the calls for service and are the first contact that potential victims or potential witnesses have of our agency. They facilitate those calls. They do dispatch for our law enforcement officers, as well as work hand in hand with Brevard County Fire Rescue to get medical needs there. We have our civilian support staff in accounting. So we have accountants and things like that. We have in our HR division, we have personnel officers that do all of our employee benefits and help our employees in the day-to-day needs that they have for a family. We have our IT division, that works on all of our computers and does all of our needs as it relates to our computer needs, our in-car computer needs, or our desktop computer needs. Our jail complex has a multitude of civilian positions, from when you walk into the jail and you need to speak to someone, our front receptionist, versus our records division, all the way down to our mental health division, our nurses that we have working in our jail. So we have some medical staff that works with our agency that are hired by our agency. We have desk officers at each of the precincts. We have public service aides, which are civilians who take non-in-progress calls that work for our agency. We have just over 330 positions of civilians that support the 800 sworn that we have within our agency. And like the chief said, they are our backbone. We could not do our job without them.
And if I might add, we're very partnership oriented, which is more of a task force concept. We have task force concepts with DEA, the U.S. Marshals Service, IRS, Secret Service, and FBI. It gives us an opportunity to not only allow our employees to work in-house or oh, I forgot our Game Over Task Force, which is with our local agencies as well. But our employees get an opportunity to work with local agencies and agencies across the country with the federal task force concepts.
Excellent. Steve, let's say that I'm somebody looking at getting in the field of law enforcement, and I have IT experience. Doors open for that.
Yes,
there's so many different avenues out there that we're constantly looking for those people to come in through. Walk me through the process of what happens, and I know you and Linda kind of cover both bases here, but kind of walk me through the process. I come in, I apply. Where do I go from there?
If you want to be a law enforcement officer, if you want to be a certified deputy sheriff, you would actually go to Linda's side of the house, and you would fill out an application, and we have quite an extensive background process, everything from a physical assessment test to a polygraph exam. And once all that is completed, then we would write that up, we would make our recommendations, and it would go to the two of you to go ahead and recommend whether this individual comes on or not. Now, we have a couple of different ways we can do it. Sometimes, sir, we have people who come on who have already been through the academy, or they come from another agency, they're already certified. All right, in that particular case, we can hire them, put them through the process, and get them out on the road right away. Some we have that have no experience, but they want to become a law enforcement officer. We have programs where they can come to work for us as a civilian, and yet we'll allow them to go to the academy, and providing that they're a good candidate and they can make it through the academy, then we'll hire them once they actually come on. So we have a number of venues. In the example that you gave of the individual who has the computer skills, who wants to be a law enforcement officer, he's going to need to keep those skills current. He becomes a law enforcement officer, and then he would probably apply to go to work in our criminal investigations division, and one of those, and so he can use those talents. In fact, we actually have a couple within criminal investigations who are very talented in computers and do a lot of our computer crime work.
Excellent. Linda, we don't just hire paid people though, do we? We don't just hire people that are on a salary or working. We hire a lot of volunteers too that come in, and that falls under your shop as well. Kind of tell our viewers what type of programs are out there that our volunteers can be involved in.
We do, and we love our volunteers. Our volunteers are a great asset to our organization. We do internships for one. Like Chief Waller was saying, many years ago, he came in on an internship from college. We take internship requests from... I don't mean to interrupt you, but under no circumstances are you allowed to mention what college he went to. That is absolutely correct.
All right, perfect.
Go Gators. The internships that are in college, typically they have a requirement for their college degree that requires them to come an internship at a law enforcement agency, and we do take those requests. We work with their college instructors to be sure that we facilitate all the needs that they need to get while in that internship. We also do volunteers. We have our citizens on patrol. They come through, they do go through a background process, and those are the ones that you typically see out doing house checks within our community. They drive around in our neighborhoods to be sure that our neighborhoods are safe. And then if there's anything out of place, they call for a road unit to respond. They do a multitude of different tasks for us. Anytime we have nonprofit events that come about, whether it's a 5K event, they will help us to do our parades is another fine example. They help us close roads down so that our citizens are safe going to those events, because it takes a large amount of manpower, and we always can't pull from patrol to be able to facilitate those requests. We also have our reserve unit. That is definitely a godsend to our agency. They are sworn law enforcement officers. There's almost 40 of them now that have a multitude of different jobs within our organization or within our community. We have doctors and dentists and businessmen, and they volunteer their time in the same uniform. They've gone through the same requirements that we all have to sit here, and they support us in patrol functions. They support us in special details that require law enforcement presence, but they're not paid. They volunteer all their time, and it's a definite cost savings for our sheriff's office in the long run to have our reserve unit.
Yeah, I mean, I forget the figure, but literally thousands of resource hours that come from our volunteers. And one of our former presidents said volunteers don't get paid anything, not because they're not worth anything, but because they're priceless. And for us, they truly are. I mean, we utilize them in so many capacities. And it also is a great front tool for us because they go back and tell everybody all the things they're involved in. I know we have a website, and we'll be putting up quite a bit throughout the show, but just to go ahead and put it out there, our website, if someone's interested in coming in and whether they're a volunteer or applying for an actual paid job, what's that website they go to, Lynn?
The website is www.brevardsheriff.com, and the website has a lot of information for a multitude of different things that our citizens can be looking for, but particularly for the Sheriff's Office and employment or volunteering. It says working for BCSO. It's a link, and you click that link, and then from that link it says job opportunities. Our application process is done online using NeoGov. So you click that link, and then you create a profile, and the whole application process is done online with you filling it out. Anytime there is an open position within the Sheriff's Office, the description of that job and the requirements for that job is posted there, so you can look through that, look at the job description, be sure you meet all the requirements, and if you're interested, definitely apply.
And it's a pretty exhausting process. I mean,
It is.
Depending upon the position, they go through a physical assessment or a physical agility test and polygraph and psychological and everything that comes in. Chief, did we have all that when you went through back 27 years ago?
Yes, I mean, the process really hasn't changed. It's the ability or the openness to be able to complete that process and the support to guide you through that process has changed a lot. I mean, we had polygraphs and psychologicals and handwritten application many years ago, so it still works. But as well as the process support, we also have an ability to answer questions. So if you're in college now and you want some direction on what should I do, how should I go to the academy, or you haven't attended college yet, what would you suggest? We can provide a lot of guidance to help you through the initial process to either obtain your certification or obtain employment.
When you look at all the different disciplines that are in there, I mean, each of you, if I had you say all the different things you've done since you've been with this agency, you guys would hit on a lot of them, but there's a lot more out there that the average person doesn't see. You know, we have everything from an air unit with helicopter pilots to bombs, all of these different components that are going on behind the scenes. And you know, I think it's so interesting to have conversations with people and them saying, well, I didn't know you did that, or I didn't know you did that. One of those things is the HR side of it. I think everyone just kind of assumes that it runs itself, but your team is involved in insurance. I mean,
yes, sir.
Your actual job is really to take care of our people.
Yeah. Compensation. That's Ron Fortnell. He's the one who handles everything dealing with insurances, especially in the health insurance now with the changes that have come along. We also have a section that deals nothing except with the employee and their pay, and whether they're overtime eligible, whether they're overtime exempt. All of that is and for 1,200 employees, it's quite a large job. And we can't forget workman's comp. Unfortunately, people do get injured on duty. Yeah. And it falls upon HR to make sure that we can do the best we can to get them healed and to get them back to work. So yes, sir, there are many, many, many facets within the
And then you talked about policy earlier too. You guys are looking at positions that we have. Do we need those positions? And Linda, I know you're tied into that too.
Yes,
Has
sir.
the shelf life expired for that position, and now we need to roll that into another aspect of it? So we do job studies and
it's interesting, sir, because in the job descriptions, we send out questionnaires to the various people to look at their job, because is it the same job that, like you said, the evolving process, and we have found that in many cases we have had to readjust our job descriptions so it more fits the job that's actually being done and not the one that was being done 4 or 5 years ago.
Steve, you started in 75? When did you start?
I started in law enforcement in 76. I came to the sheriff's office in 78.
78. A lot of changes.
Oh yeah, but you know, they've been good. They really have. Law enforcement as a profession and as a career is much better now than it was 30 plus years ago, sir. Well, you know that. You were around then too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Thanks for pointing that out, Steve. Doug, training, Linda's unit of it. How, as a deputy out there, or a corrections deputy, even investigator, how important is that training, and how often do we get it?
Well, that is one part that has changed over the years. As Director Salvo stated, many years ago when we started, you went through a very, I'm not going to call it a short, but it was a concise field training program. Well, today you go through that program, but you are quarterly trained on all of your high liabilities, your firearms, defensive tactics. We're supplied so much more equipment today to make our jobs safer and more effective. And as a result, with that comes a lot of training, required training. A deputy today or an employee today has the opportunity to really understand what the job is about more than we did 25, 30 years ago. But more importantly, how we can do our job a lot better and a lot more effective with the tools that are given to us today, provided to us today.
Now you said something, equipment, another hidden gem within the agency. Those responsible for getting us everything we need to do our job, and we have a logistics group, as we call it.
We do, and again, many years ago, you got your uniforms, you got your badge, you got your hat, and you were put to work. We had to buy our own leather, we had to buy our own weapons.
We bought everything else.
And so today, the equipment and the training, the associated training with that is provided. But as a result, there has to be a support unit to provide and keep that rolling. It's the behind the scenes that you never hear about. It's the IT unit that keeps our report management system working. It's the property unit that keeps us equipped. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. The layers peel back into where you see that this agency is, it's a one team, one effort unit that has to rely on each other. But most of these units and these very special employees, you never know, you never hear about them.
Right. I think one of the most unique features of this agency is, Brevard County is very long, as you might know. We have 5 precincts that are there, but there's actually 9 different structures, if you will. You have the 5 precincts, and then you have the jail, you have the investigative division, you have the courthouse, which has a massive amount of our workforce that it takes to keep our judicial process, our judges and everybody else safe. And then you have the admin building. So you're really talking about 9 different components that all have to work together. And literally, there are members of our agency that have never met other members within this agency. And 1,200 actual employees and then another several hundred volunteers creates quite a dynamic that goes on. Linda, how do you coordinate all that training for all of those people? How many resources do you have in training?
Well, I'm truly blessed. I will tell everyone that I have the greatest job in the sheriff's office. I have an amazing team. I have what I call my recruitment and my hiring team, which consists of 2 full-time corporals and a civilian background investigator, as well as my civilian support staff, 3 amazing ladies that I have in my office that do a phenomenal job. And then on the training side, I have 5 full-time corporals that train full-time, 40 hours a week, plus a little extra here and there. Our reserve unit just trained on Saturday. And they're an amazing team. But like you said, coordinating 1,200 plus, especially with our volunteers, to be sure that they train appropriately, takes a lot of dedication to attention to detail to be sure that we get them all trained, that nobody slips through the cracks. We are an accredited agency. Some of the training takes place within a specific unit, like aviation unit. They take care of their own trainings. Our mechanics, which we didn't mention, which keep us on the roads and keep us driving safely. We have a fleet maintenance division off of Camp Road, and we have mechanics that work there that have to keep up their certification as well. So a lot of support from those different divisions keeping up their own certification, but definitely within my unit being sure that they are trained appropriately, that the certifications are kept current, the instructor certifications are kept current, and it's definitely a full-time job.
I know day one you handed me a packet that I had to fill out, and nobody escapes through that course. You mentioned, and I know we're getting short on time, but you mentioned accreditation. Tell our viewers a little bit, what is accreditation and what does it mean to this agency and to our citizens?
It just means that we are standardized in the way that we go about doing things. You just mentioned that we have 9 different, in essence, divisions, if you want to call them. And every precinct, for instance, all 5 precincts are doing things the same. Our affidavits are the same. The way we do our reports are the same. The way we send things to the state attorney's office for prosecution. Our training, it makes us to where that we are I mean, we are a professional agency with or without training, but it just puts that another stamp of approval on our agency to say that we do things appropriately across all disciplines to be sure that our civilian staff and our sworn staff and our jail complex is up to standards. And we have inspections. They come in and they inspect our organization, and we, to date, have had wonderful inspections about our organizations and the way we do things here.
I was just going to say our consistency, and the big part of it is consistency with affidavits, with training, with policy, procedures, practice. It follows so deep into the way we do our daily job, we almost forget about a lot of these aspects that kind of guide us along. But that's there, accreditation is there to ensure that we remain consistent and we remain on top of the game.
I'm gonna put each of you on the spot, and you know, the format of the show is there's no written questions. We just kind of go with it. But each of you have been with the agency for a long time, so I'm gonna put you on the spot, starting with you, Steve. We only got a couple minutes left, but all the things you've done, what's the one thing you wish you had gotten to add to that list?
I was able to do a TDY, or a temporary duty, in homicide for about 90 days, and then I had to go back as general crime. I would like to have spent a little more time in homicide. It was truly fascinating, and but the career took off in a different manner, which is fine. I have no regrets. But to answer your question, it would have been that.
Linda?
Mine would also be investigations from the supervisor standpoint, and just the way my career path took me with being promoted and being a patrol sergeant, and then being in career development as a sergeant, being again promoted back to patrol as a lieutenant, and then being blessed to come back into this unit. I never went to the investigative supervisor or leader path, and that is one thing that I still hope to do in my career.
Excellent. Chief?
I was blessed. I had an opportunity to work and supervise just about every aspect of the agency, but there is one specialty assignment that I missed, and that was SWAT. And I missed that during a time period when I was away in a DEA assignment, and I really wish I would have had an opportunity to be assigned to SWAT.
Yeah, that's something we didn't even get to talk a lot about is SWAT and
Or the dive team.
Dive team. I mean, there's so many different components out there
that aren't full-time assignments. They are specialty, but honor guard, you know, it just, there's quite a few out there.
You know, and I think that's an important thing to mention is when you look at our different components that people actually volunteer for, they're doing it in that compared to the honor guard is so relevant to our program and all the different ceremonies that they start for the different things in this community. You know, I will close with this, and our chief pilot will probably have an absolute heart attack when I say this, but I want to fly the helicopter. That's what I want to do, and he's probably hiding all the components and keys and everything to the helicopter, but that would be pretty neat to me, and that's a whole nother group that we didn't even get to talk about as we go through. Let me start to close the show by thanking each of you, not only for your time on the show, but your service to this community. Obviously, you guys love your jobs. That's pretty easy to see, and thank you for coming in and giving our viewers an insight into the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. I know we're all proud of that agency, as is our community. So again, thank you for your service, and thank you for being here. I want to thank our viewers, our production team, and everyone that makes this program such a success and makes it happen. As always, please tune in for our next episode of Be Safe, and please be careful out there. Have a great day.